The dust motes danced their final, weary waltz in the beam of Elara Vance's desk lamp, the only island of light in the vast, sleeping sea of the Sterling Memorial Library. It was well past midnight, the grand reading room submerged in a deep, velvety silence broken only by the soft, rhythmic click of her keyboard. Elara was a woman of order, a weaver of cataloging threads, and the silence was her loom. Tonight, however, a single, frayed thread was troubling her peace. It was a ghost, a data phantom in the newly digitized records, a treatise on cellular regeneration, checked out on October 17, 1974, by an Alistair Finch, due back in 3 weeks. It had never returned. 50 years. The number felt absurd. Books didn't just vanish for half a century. They turned up under beds, in attics, were passed down through generations with overdue fines accruing more sentimental value than monetary. But this one was different. It had slipped through the cracks of the old card system and, until tonight, the cold logic of the new digital one, driven by a compulsion she couldn't name. Elara had unlocked the oak cabinet that held the library's physical discrepancy files. Thick, manila folders for books that had truly, irrevocably gone missing. The air that escaped was thick with the scent of old paper and forgotten things. She found the file for Alistair Finch quickly. It was surprisingly thin. Inside was the original, yellowed checkout card, stamped with the 1974 date. Paper clipped to it were a few typed memos. The first, dated 1975, was from a librarian named Robert Shaw. Attempted contact with Mr. Finch at registered address. Neighbors report he moved away abruptly. Autumn, 74. No forwarding. The next, from 1982, was from an Elara Vance. No relation. Elara noted with a strange chill, who had apparently taken a personal interest. The Finch case is peculiar. No record of the book's acquisition, and the subject matter seems anomalous for our collection. We'll investigate the acquisition logs. Quote, there was no third memo, just a single, hand-scribbled note on a scrap of paper, dated a week after Eleanor's. In a different, hurried script, discontinued. Do not pursue. S. Elara's blood ran cold. She knew that initial S was for Sterling, the library's ancient, reclusive benefactor. She flipped through the file again, her meticulous mind cross-referencing. Robert Shaw had resigned his post abruptly in 1975. According to staff records, Elara Vance had simply stopped coming to work in 1982. No notices, no goodbyes. Both had been investigating this book. Both had vanished from their lives. Her heart hammered against her ribs. A frantic drumbeat in the silent hall. This was no longer a discrepancy. It was a pattern of silence, of disappearances, all orbiting a single, missing book. She stood, her chair scraping loudly in the hush, and moved with a purpose that felt both terrified and inevitable. She bypassed the public stacks and headed deeper into the library's belly, to the restricted archives. The air grew colder, the scent of dust and aging leather more potent. This was her domain, every shelf, every box catalogued in her mind. But tonight, she was looking for a ghost. It took her an hour, searching behind ledgers of 19th-century ship manifests and boxes of uncatalogued personal letters. And then she saw it, tucked not on a shelf, but behind one, in the narrow gap between the shelving unit and the cold stone wall. A small, flat space, invisible unless you were looking for a hiding place. Her fingers, trembling slightly, closed around a book bound in a peculiar, mottled leather that felt unsettlingly smooth. There was no title on the spine. She drew it out. The cover was blank. She opened it to the frontispiece. And there, in elegant, spidery script, were the words, The labyrinth of silence. A wave of vertigo washed over her. This was it. The book that had been checked out. The book that had summoned people into the void. It was right here. It had never left the library. Ms. Vance. Quote. The voice, dry and rasping like old leaves, came from the archive entrance. Elara jumped, clutching the book to her chest as if caught in a theft. Mr. Sterling stood there, leaning heavily on his silver-topped cane. He was a man who seemed as old as the library's foundation stones. His face a web of fine lines. His eyes pale and watery, yet possessing a disconcerting sharpness. I thought I saw a light, he said, his tone mild, almost grandfatherly. It is very late for even our most dedicated keeper. Quote, I was following up on a cataloging anomaly. Elara managed, her voice tight. Mr. Sterling's gaze drifted from her face to the book in her hands. A flicker of something, annoyance, pity, crossed his features. Ah, that. A relic from a less organized time. Some books are best left forgotten. My dear, they contain ideas that are disruptive. Put it back. There is no entry for it in the system. As far as this library is concerned, it does not exist. Quote, he took a step forward, his cane tapping softly on the stone floor. Curiosity is the soul of a good librarian, Elara. But it can also be a terminal condition. Go home. Forget this. Quote, he turned and shuffled away, his form swallowed by the shadows of the corridor. His words hung in the air. A threat wrapped in a warning. Terminal condition. Asterisk. Trembling, but now burning with a defiant fire. Elara knew she could not obey. She waited until the sound of his footsteps faded. Then she turned back to the hidden nook. If the book was the trap, perhaps the ledger was the record of its catches. She ran her hands over the stone wall, feeling for a seam, a latch. Her fingers brushed a slight irregularity. She pressed, with a soft, gritty click, a small section of the wall, no larger than a sheet of paper, swung inward. Inside was a single, slender volume bound in black leather. A ledger. Her breath hitched. She opened it. The pages were filled with names, dates, and brief notes, all in the same elegant hand. Alistair Finch 1974, Curiosity Regarding the Unseen. Robert Shaw 1975, Professional Diligence. Eleanor Vance 1982, Ancestral Inquiry. Quote, each name was a person who had sought the book. Each one had vanished. This was a register of the lost, the curious, the ones who asked one question too many. Her eyes, wide with horror, scanned down the list. The entries stopped for decades, then resumed. Her blood turned to ice. The final